You realize how poetic life can be the more that you align your awareness to, I guess, where you are. When you get out of the hustle and the bustle of the traffic and jobs and bills and things like that, you realize that nature itself has so many lessons within itself. Just looking at these trees and looking at these leaves on the floor and just being in the knowing that in spring these trees are going to be beautiful. But just sitting here and just taking in just everything right now, there is still beauty in this, in their transition. Let's call it that. That's a poetic moment for me because as we grow older, there are going to be things that's going to be required of us to do or transition into, whether it be parenting, being a spouse, being responsible for business. There are certain key life skills that is required to do the job in an efficient, optimal way. And for me, I'm guilty for not accepting certain transitions, if that makes sense. My ego didn't allow me to transition because my ego saw it as a failure. The fact that I wasn't able to go through a certain part of life as myself, it felt like I failed. The fact that if I had to start over, it felt like I failed. And looking at these trees go through transitions every year where it's uncomfortable, it's cold, it's 27 degrees right now. There's still beauty in that transition. And that's what I'm learning. When we transition, it's not starting over. If you were to chop this tree down, you'll see the rings. And the rings tells you or gives you an idea of how old the tree is. Who knows how many transitions this tree has gone through. It hasn't started over. Its rings still count. And that's me motivated myself that, learning new things or pivoting is not a failure of before. It's actually wisdom. And in moments like these, I am proud of myself that I'm able to gain an understanding for my betterment first. And ultimately, everyone around me would benefit from an experienced Max. I like that, an experienced Max. I'm learning that life, it does require transitions because we grow up with certain traditions, whether it be religion, whether it be culture. We don't have the freedom to find our footing and see what works. And you realize you live in a bubble and life try to bend you a little bit so it can teach you certain skills. And for me, I was set in my way because I got this figured out. I got this figured out. I guess the question to myself is, Max, what is that transition? And what does that look like? And for me, that transition is allowing life to happen for me. Coming from always trying to see what's next and not being conscious of the things that's important in the macro. My transition would be me being aware of what Max needs in the moment, what Max needs to learn in the moment, and me being aware to what others need from me, especially my kids. Transition would look like the ego took a hit because it figured out that we don't have it all together. So me transitioning would be knowing joy in the moments that's uncomfortable, in the moments where I have to shed old habits, old ways of thinking, and knowing that, Max, you did not fail, because what is prepared for you in the future as a changed man, as a man that has gained wisdom, the future is bright. The future is beautiful. The future is colorful. To know and experience just this feeling right now, I have to release old ways of thinking, change my perspective. And just know that life is unfortunately not a straight and narrow. Life have twists, life have turns. Every road that you take is another chance to grow in your purpose. And finally, that transition is living in purpose, on purpose.